Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask you to do. Get off there.
It says that we're live. Okay, so we're coming
we are really
Hey,
live now.
Christina. So yeah, we are really live now. We're on YouTube and we're on Facebook this week. We're not at our regular home office, so we're not on everything. But as we always do with every caregiver check-in, please ask any questions that you want to ask us about foster care or adoption. This is your time. This is our Monday caregiver check-in. So this is your time to talk to us about whatever you want to talk to about concerning foster care and adoption. Where are we coming from? Where are we at right now? What are your guesses? YouTube will have a better chance to guess that because I had to put the location we were at. So, but on Facebook, where do you guys think that we're coming from you at? I can't talk right now. We're actually at Universal Studios Orlando. So yeah, we're having a blast here. It's spring break. We're taking some time out to talk with you guys to see if you have any questions or anything that you want to check in with. We have just one main topic basically revolving around spring break that we want to talk to you guys about. But other than that, this is your time. So we're going to stay on here for the next 30 minutes or so and just answer your questions, talk with you, and see what you need help with. And we're going to come to solutions and answers as a group. So hello to everyone watching. Please give your comments and such like that. I'm going to turn that on so we can, there. I don't think we had the comments on for Facebook. Yeah, so, hey Christina, if you guys can give like a thumbs up on Facebook, if you can, sometimes our comments aren't working. So if you guys can give a thumbs up or give a shout out or something like that so that we know that we're actually connected on there, that'd be great. Spring break, Margie.
Yeah.
Like, who's on spring break? When is your spring break? Our spring break is this week, so it's March 12th, and it's going to go through, obviously, Friday. We like to go various different places, and I know some other people have, like, places that they love to go to and such like that. Like, where do you like to go for spring break, and when is your spring break? So we just happen to be down here, and we're doing some other stuff that we're not going to get into. But we're doing some like work type stuff and all that we're down here doing. So we happen to be by the parks, and so we thought we'd take the kids to the parks while we're down here. We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about was I know a lot of people as foster adoptive families, we want to do kind of what all the other families are doing, and we want to like have vacations and have those big dream vacations like everyone else. So did anyone go to Disney World? Like, is anyone going to go to Disney, Universal, SeaWorld? Where are the other big ones? I know some people do camping. They like to Yellowstone. Like, what are some other big ones?
Well, closer, you know, where we're from in Tennessee, people go to Dollywood.
Oh, Dollywood.
Although Dollywood
or go
does
to
not open until next weekend.
So the mountains. You might be going to the mountains. Okay.
It's good places to go.
Well, one thing we wanted to talk and make this a thing about for this episode was unless you guys have other questions you want to talk about, we will talk about. We wanted to talk about how do you get around in theme parks or big like places that there are a lot of people. Like you're going to be butting into a lot of people. You're going to be I don't know, having issues and just like big congested areas. Like, how do you deal with that? Because most of our kiddos that come from traumatic backgrounds, they're going to have issues. They're going to have sensory processing disorders. They're going to have anxieties,
PTSD.
like PTSD, and different things like that. So tell us what you guys do to like man and navigate areas like that. One thing that Margie and I were talking before we came on here is we don't try to hit everything that an area has to offer.
We used to. We learned the hard way.
We did learn, yeah. Cause
like we used to be those people that were like, okay, we're going to the amusement park. We bought tickets. So we are going to wake up and we are going to go from open to close. Hey, Uncle Harlan.
Woohoo!
So yeah, we used to like go open to close, and we found that was just way too much stimulation for our kids to handle. I think like even typical people get kind of overstimulated.
That's what I was just gonna say. Be honest. How many kids have you seen in the park today that have melted down? And I'm sure that they're bio kids, like they're a family's bio kids, and they have a normal upbringing. Like how many kids? I've seen at least 3.
I've heard some screaming.
I've heard at least 3 kids screaming at Universal today where they're just having a meltdown and they can't handle it. And quite frankly, us adults can't handle it sometimes too.
There was some nastiness going on, like just, you know, in congested areas where people are like not being nice to each other.
They weren't at all. But one thing that we tell families, if you're a foster or adoptive family, is you're not going to do everything. You're not going to do everything that a venue has to do because your kids, and probably quite frankly because of the trauma behaviors, it's going to grate on your nerves, and you're not going to be able to handle everything that an area. So yesterday we came to the parks. Like I said, we had some business and different things to do, so we ended up doing that. We came to the park, we ate dinner, and then we were here for maybe an hour or 2. Like, it wasn't very long.
We rode a couple rides, and that was enough. Like, we actually probably stayed too long.
Yeah, we were probably here a little too long.
We had several things that we were doing in town throughout the day, and so we were pretty wiped out already. And so there were some major tears at dinner.
Yeah, there were. It was one of those and not with the parents either.
Not the parents.
Not the parents this time.
Yeah, there was some meltdowns at dinner, and then it was like, we want to ride rides. And so we went and rode a couple, and I think nobody really like totally melted down, like, but it got to that point where we're like, okay, we're done. We are done.
But has anyone else had a vacation, I guess, where you've had that meltdown experience where the kids have completely melted down, or you've just had tears because everyone's too tired? Has anyone else had that experience? Yeah, we try to make sure that we don't do everything. Even this is probably going to be our longest. We got here just after noon, and we're still here at the park. Our kids have done the parks, and they recognize in themselves when they're getting out of control and not able to help. So we do it better in the parks, but that's taken years and years and years of being able to do amusement parks.
But we've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way. Like one thing that we always make sure, water bottles.
We have water bottles with us all the time.
Keeping everybody hydrated is huge. That helps majorly prevent meltdowns. Also, because of just trauma that kids have experienced, it actually changes the way their body processes food. It changes chemical reactions in their brains, and so much is going on physiologically that we can't see, but that impacts their behavior. And so one of the things we've learned is that every 2 hours, our kids need to keep their blood sugar level. They need something.
Hey, Steve.
So we do a lot of making sure there's protein, some kind of snack every 2 hours to keep their blood sugar level. And that just helps them to cope better.
And I know that sounds weird, but I'm probably, no, Steve, you rock. You are so awesome. Steve on Facebook is telling it. For all of you at YouTube, someone's saying we rock. Yeah, so I wouldn't, I'm totally not in the science all the time. I'm an art guy. And so,
I love the science of it all, and I study it.
But for seriously, like Margie is saying, every 2 hours, I mean, this goes for any family. Check it out with your kids. Every 2 hours, if you just grab a snack and grab some water. You can have, if you guys are a soda family and stuff like that, go for it. Go do soda, but make sure you get water every 2 hours, and you will see such a big difference with everyone's ability to make it through the parks or make it through whatever. Maybe you're at Yellowstone and you're hiking. I don't know what it is. Whatever you're doing, if every 2 hours you just grab a snack that includes a protein and you get some water, you guys are going to be able to do so much more than the day before or the other day.
And it's not even just that. It's preventing meltdowns. I've seen, early on in our days of fostering and adopting, there was a day that, we had just learned some of this at a conference, and the kids and I were out on the long shopping day, and I don't even remember why, but I remember we were in Target and the kids were about right. I mean, I was I was at my wit's end trying to handle their behavior, and so I grabbed, just went through the snack aisle and grabbed some granola bars or something, and some drinks, and I took them outside on a bench, and we sat down, and I handed out snacks and drinks. And it was immediately, you could see the difference in them. You could see just those meltdowns stopping. You could see that they just had so much more control of themselves. I was like, okay, there's some real science behind this. This is real. so that's something we kind of learned several years back. But, there's things like yesterday, we were doing some, we have personal business down here in Orlando right now that we were taking care of. And we were driving down the road, and one of them was just really having kind of a tough time. And I opened the console because someone asked for Kleenex. And I was like, oh, hey, there's a fidget in here. And one of them asked for the fidget. And it was like, that tool was a lifesaver at the time because that child needed that. They just needed, and I'm not talking spinners because you can read my blogs about spinners, but, and we've got several blogs on our, both on our YouTube channel, vlogs, and then blogs on our website, transfiguringadoption.com, where I talk about different fidgets that are very, very successful, especially even in the parks. We've got some great info on that.
And I think too, I know that we have a trip that we're gonna do out here with a bunch of definitely check that out too, transfiguringadoption.com/vacation. We have a trip that we're gonna actually do out here. We have spots left for 8 families to join that, and we're gonna come out to Universal Orlando. I think it just depends what time of the year that you go, and you gotta check to see the crowd level too, because I know a lot of people have kind of asked us why would we come to during October, because that's when the trip is scheduled, is October, and it's more like a fall break time, and people are wanting to come during the summer because they have longer breaks, right? But what we're seeing even here for spring break, it's nuts.
It wasn't bad yesterday. Yesterday
it wasn't
we
too
had a
bad.
pretty good time.
But Sunday is kind of like that. Everyone's transition day. Everyone's checking out, and the new crowd's coming in to get hotels. But we love the Wizarding World of Harry Potter over here, and seriously, we went in and I walked right back out again. It's too nuts because you got too much going on. If you have a kid with sensory issues, they're going to be getting bumped around all the time because people just can't even help it. And we love that area, but you just can't do it. You can't put your kids through that. And if you try to do it, it's just going to end bad for them, and then you're going to be upset. And so I think you just have to plan for that's why October we're going, because the crowds will be they'll be smaller, so we'll be able to do things a little bit better. And people won't be getting bumped as much. It'll be, the temperature right now is awesome, actually. I have a hoodie, we both have hoodies on. It's just really comfortable, but even you just want to make sure in October, the weather's going to be so nice and comfortable, and that's going to allow everyone to just make it through the parks too. You just want to set yourselves up for success and not for disappointment.
Other things that we've done, one thing that's really helpful is there are so many great vloggers that do the parks. And actually, one of our favorites, the Tim Tracker, Jen and Tim Tracker, they do a lot in Orlando, and they've done some in different parks across the nation, but they live in Orlando and they come here a lot. And just happened to be that earlier, was it last week, they did one on reducing anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, if you watch some of our vlogs that we've done, we talk some about some of those ways to reduce anxiety, but some of it's just talking to people who've been places, who know what it's like for people who have anxieties or who've been through trauma, PTSD, that kind of stuff. There are areas in the park that are quieter. We happen to be in one. It is a little bit there's some music.
They're pumping. It's Mardi Gras here at the park right now at Universal, so they're pumping Mardi Gras music in. But it's still really quiet here. There aren't any people back here, and so if you had your kids and you're they're about ready to lose their stuff, you could come back here, and we have there are all sorts of
on YouTube you can see we're quite a ways away. You can see people walking there far in the background, but
we'll take them and show them on Facebook. Lift it up a little. There you go.
So way back there, there's
and you can see all the tables and stuff like that.
There's people back there.
There's people back there, but we're the pizza restaurant's actually closed right now, and even back here there just usually aren't that many people back here because we're in the back.
If you have a kiddo who struggles with noise input, this is a good place. You could come back here.
It's not perfect, but it's better than the rest of the park.
If you have noise canceling headphones,
yeah,
you can reduce the noise stimuli. That's about the only stimuli that's really back here. You don't have a lot of other stuff going on. They're not being bumped, so you don't have that physical stimuli. There's not a lot visually going on, so you can kind of just come back here, because on the other side, there's
Facebook see YouTube.
Facebook see it. it's just bushes.
Yeah, I won't show you.
It's just quiet.
And there are all these tables back here too, so like you could sit here and have a snack or something like that, and it'd just be really quiet, and you can just chill for a little while. Yeah. And you don't have to do everything. Like, don't put that on yourself as a family that you have to do everything.
Well, you were saying earlier, one of the things, you said you don't necessarily follow the mob. Like, one of the things that trackers did on their video the other day was just, instead of following the mob through the parking deck, like going over a few aisles to an aisle where cars had parked several hours before and walking through that way to get out of the parking garage rather than walking with everybody.
Well, and one thing I was saying the whole time too is we're as foster adoptive parents, we have to think differently when parenting, because we can't do the same thing everyone else does when parenting, because we're dealing with all these issues. Right? Like, if you're watching this, even if you're not watching it live, let me know. Like, you have to parent different, right? Like, so I think even when you go to a park or an amusement park or a vacation destination, you have to think different than everyone else. And so you have to look for those quiet places, and it's not like, oh, that would just be nice. It's like, okay, that looks like a quiet area, and then just make a mental note of it next time. Like, if we need that, we're gonna go there.
We have several now, like throughout the park, and we know there's places where instead of walking with the mob, you can kind of cut through a certain way, and that gets you away from that crowd of people that are kind of in that mass movement of people. You can kind of cut a different way, going through a store, or going through just kind of an alternative sidewalk. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but there's less people.
But yeah, like, and again, while we're talking, please, if you want to talk about something different, please let us know. Comment below if you want to talk about something different. If you have a question about foster care or adoption that you need answered, and we'll tackle that. The other thing is too, is while we're talking about how you're spending your spring break, if you have questions or if you have advice on how other parents can be useful tricks on how they can make their spring break better, let us know. We're just talking about being in amusement parks because we are in one for spring break right now. So
one of the other things that helps a lot, because our kids have a lot of anxiety just because of everything they've been through, it really helps them to see things beforehand. Mm-hmm. So we've done a lot of, anytime we've gone to a park, we've done a lot of just watching people, like watching vlogs of those places or looking at pictures. One time we went on a spring break trip to go visit a couple of our kids' birth siblings across the country. Like, we drove across several states. And so I made the kids binders, and in those binders they had pictures. First we had like kind of the route, and this is kind of what we were going to do, and this is where we're going to stay each night because we had to make stops along the way, and this is who we're going to see, this is what we're going to do, this is kind of where we're going to eat. So they had some expectations too of, like, they weren't scared of like going hungry because they knew exactly like when we were going to eat, where we were going to eat, what we were going to do. And we did have to do some we had to be a little flexible. There were a couple times where we're like, okay, we know your binder says we're doing this, but there was a big snowstorm, and so we had to reroute a little bit and change some things. And but we kind of sat them down ahead of time and let them know that. But those binders too, like, we showed them pictures, like, we're gonna go to this place, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there, and that gave them some preparation. When we were going to parks, one thing, as just someone who loves rides, I don't necessarily want to know, I don't want to see the ride before I go necessarily, but for our kids that was huge. Like, for them, like, to be able to know, like, this is kind of what's going to happen on a ride, it decreased their anxiety and made them able to survive the park so much better the first couple times around. And again, like what Margie was saying too, is one we like to watch is the Tim Tracker, and it's just like that. Look up the Tim Tracker, all one word. He's on YouTube. They do a daily vlog, but if you search through their vlog, they have all sorts of they've gone through like Disney World and Universal, some Disneyland, and they've gone to Disneyland a couple times. They've gone to Universal in California too, right? Yeah,
and they've also gone to Silver Dollar City in Branson. So you can touch base with some of that. They do the places they've been more. They're out of Orlando, so they've done a lot of more. They do a lot of the smaller attractions too, like Legoland's not small, but like.
Well, they've done Legoland, they've done some Busch Gardens, they've done, SeaWorld and
they're really
the Disney
cool
parks.
So they don't have children, but it's a family-friendly family-friendly vlog, and they're very real. And so I think that is they're just phenomenal with what they do, and they're just very real, and they can help your family gauge what a venue's going to be like if they've been there already.
Yeah, so, and there are vloggers that, will actually just do walking tours through a park.
Right.
So, that kind of gives your kids an idea of what they're going to see, what it looks like. And it really does decrease their anxiety. I mean, some of the stuff that we're doing in Orlando right now, that's not the parks, are things that we're doing that we are prepping our kids for some changes that are coming in our lives, and kind of giving them the opportunity to come alongside us and make some decisions together, and to show them things, because they can have a tendency to get more anxious than just the typical person, because change for them has often been,
uprooting their whole life,
their entire life. It's some stranger coming and taking them from their birth parents, and then getting settled in a foster home, and then being taken from that foster home to another foster home, and there's they've been through a lot of rough change. So anytime that we're going to have change as a family, we really have to come alongside them, and say, okay, so they're having behavior problems right now. That's probably because change is coming, and they're nervous about it. So what can we do to alleviate some of that stress for them, to reduce that just even a little bit? Really can change their behavior, and it helps us to remember, like, hey, this is impacting them.
But let us know, what do you guys do? What do you guys like to do on vacations? Like, I'd love to hear what some people are doing on spring break. Like, what do you do? Do you prep your kids for anything? Are your kids just automatically ready to go? Like, what are your biggest struggles that you have while you're on vacation? I would say that our biggest struggle this trip so far has just been, like Margie said, we have other changes coming. Personally, like, and just with life.
Well, and just in general, like
I think
3 of our kids are transitioning this year.
Right, because of school.
It's getting to the end of the school year. We've got about 2 months left. Our youngest is leaving. He's in 5th grade, so he will be leaving elementary school, going to middle school. The next one is in 8th grade, and she will be going to high school next year as a freshman. And then our second oldest is leaving high school this year. He's graduating. So there's major life transition for all of them.
I think they're nervous about the next step in their life educationally, like with all of them. And so I think with anything in their life right now, that just plays a part of it. So even just being on vacation, they're still thinking about it, and they're still worried about, like, what's high school going to be like, what's middle school going to be like, what's going into adult life going to be like. And so I think that's true for any of us. I think we're always nervous about what we don't know. But I think for them, the anxiety is just more amped because they've been through more trauma in their lives. And I think, and because of the trauma, like, their brains are rewired sometimes. Like, I would say most of the time their brains are rewired because of the trauma. Mm-hmm. And
sometimes we'll have to do like one of our Monday caregiver check-ins just on some of how trauma does impact the brain, mm-hmm. and what that looks like in a kiddo.
Would you guys like that?
It's different than what, because one of the things that people don't understand is that PTSD is much more rampant. Like, it's nearly twice as, a foster child is nearly twice as likely to have PTSD than an active combat veteran. So the people coming back from war are half as likely, basically, to have PTSD than our kids. Now, we talk about veterans having PTSD, and that's kind of, common just for people to talk about out in society. We're not talking about that with kids, and it looks different in kids. PTSD is very underdiagnosed in kids because it looks like ADHD and OD, oppositional defiance, attention deficit disorder. So our kids will end up having an alphabet soup of diagnoses often, when really the real root problem is PTSD. Now, some of the treatment might be some of the same treatments that you would treat ADHD, but you're going to also do other things to treat differently, or a lot of the stuff will actually resemble autism even. There are a lot of similarities between autistic behaviors and behaviors caused by trauma in children. And so some of the things that we do are similar, but at the same time, there are things that we have to do just a little bit differently. Like for autism, they use ABA therapy often, and ABA therapy is usually not effective with kids who have come through trauma. So there's little things that are different, but it is. I forgot what I was going to say. But you know, PTSD in our kiddos is very, very common because they've been through so much trauma. Sometimes with kids they call it more complex developmental trauma. They've had ongoing trauma throughout their development or through important developmental stages. It rewires the brain, it changes things, and so we have to do things just a little bit differently.
Well, maybe we'll talk more about that next time instead of getting into it now. But again, hey to everyone that's joined us. We're just going through discussing whatever you want to discuss. Margie and I have been talking about spring break trips, tips on how you can have a better spring break trip no matter where you're at. We're actually out here at Universal Studios in Orlando. We've been telling you some tips that we have for getting into the parks successfully. Please comment if you have any questions or just want to give a shout out or thumbs up. I will tell you one more time as we're getting ready to wrap up here, that we do have a vacation that is for caregivers. We have 8 spots.
Caregivers and their families.
Yep. We have 8 families that can go with us on this trip to Universal Orlando. You can find out more information at transfiguringadoption.com/vacation. And with that, the biggest thing that you're going to be getting is there are going to be 4 dedicated staff members that are going to be helping your family just to manage trauma behaviors, get around in the parks, and just some of the stuff that we've been talking to you with this whole episode on here, just like with people getting anxiety or too tired, stressed out. They're going to be there to help you so that you can recognize that early so that your kids don't have meltdowns, and so you create really cool vacation memories. But transfiguringadoption.com/vacations where you can find out more information about that. You need to get your deposit in as soon as you can to secure your family's spot. Again, there are only 8 spots, and I believe it's $400 to hold your spot, and then you can work with the travel agency on payments up until the time of the trip. So definitely check that out. We'd love to have you come along with us in our group that's going to be doing that. Thank you so much to everyone that's been watching us here. We're going to go out, find our kids, have some more fun on spring break, but we want to do these caregiver check-ins every Monday at 5 p.m. because we think that you as a caregiver are amazing. You're worth it. You are doing the hardest job, and that's taking care of kids from traumatic places. You don't hear it enough that you are doing amazing, so much more amazing than what you even think that you've done today. You're making a difference whether you believe it or not. You are, you are, you are. And for those of you that are just concerned individuals that are watching this and that you just want to support caregivers, thank you so much. There aren't enough of you. There need to be more people concerned about caregivers and supporting them so that they can help turn this generation of kiddos into the next impactors of our societies. So thank you to everyone watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or hit the like button on Facebook and follow us on Facebook. We hope to see you later next week. Thank you. We hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family.
Bye, Facebook.
Bye, YouTube.